Hello again, and welcome back to Nonprofit Marketing with Purpose. My name is Monica Pitts, and I am the host of this awesome interview that we're doing with the Chapman Foundation for Caring Communities. Now, I felt like they would be the perfect guests for our Facebook Live this week, which we are rolling into this podcast, because right now, we're still focused on our marketing plans for the year. And for those of you who don't have them already finished, it's okay because we can still get them done by March. I'll tell you about that in a second. So, marketing is all about communication, right? And communication is about connecting with individual people. Another piece of marketing, though, is communicating with your team, right? It's not just about your audience, it's with your team so you can make sure that you get all the work done. And one of my favorite tools to understand both personal and audience behavioral and communication styles is DISC, D-I-S-C. So the results are incredible. I can't tell you how many people get their DISC results back and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like they saw inside my head. It's totally creepy. I mean, my husband and I both agree that we are still married because we did DISC training when we started dating. No joke. We were both in a sales training class and we did DISC training. And to this day, we use these patterns of speech and understanding of each other's tendencies and our kids' tendencies to be able to effectively communicate and be a strong, healthy couple and communicate with our family. So it's totally awesome. So when I met the Chapman Foundation for Caring Communities and learned all about their mission to motivate cultural change by transforming communication one person at a time, I was 100% hooked, like on board with this mission. It's awesome. And here's what's even better. They teach it. That's how they're motivating cultural change, is through communication education, which is awesome. And part of that training is DISC training. So I knew that I wanted to share this magic about DISC, but having a certified DISC trainer come and talk to you on this podcast is so awesome. Like way better than me explaining it myself, because you're actually getting somebody who teaches this and certifies people to teach it. And that is what they do. That is so cool. So DISC trainer Misty Jenks and also the Chapman Foundation for Caring Communities Executive Director Rebecca Buell are going to teach us all about DISC and unlock that secret sauce to improve communication in this episode. Now let's get to business. You're on a mission and you just need more people to know about it. And whether you're brand new to marketing or a seasoned pro, we are all looking for answers to make marketing decisions with purpose. I'm Monica Pitts, a techie, crafty business owner, mom, and aerial dancer who solves communication challenges through technology. This podcast is all about digging in and going digital. I'll share my marketing know-how and business experience from almost 20 years of misadventures. I'll be your backup dancer so you can stop doubting and get moving towards marketing with purpose. So before we jump into this interview, I just want to let you know that if you are in the middle of planning your nonprofit's marketing plan right now, then I have a solution for you, and it's not just downloading the free template, because sometimes DIY is great and sometimes it's just straight up overwhelming, right? So you don't have to do this on your own. You can join me and other nonprofits at the Nonprofit Marketing Plan Workshop and Consulting Package. Save the date for February 24th. My goal with this workshop and consulting package is to create a supportive environment for nonprofit organizations to collaborate and create attainable, less stressful, and more successful marketing plans. So if that sounds like something that you need, then save the date and we're going to get it all done. Okay? Registration opens February 9th on mayecreate.com. I hope to see you there. All right, so before we get started, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about, well, I'm going to call it Our Community Listens, but I understand that that is just one program of the Chapman Foundation for Caring Communities.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. We're so excited to partner with May Create, and you have made us more creative over the last several months. So thank you for that. Our Community Listens has been around for 10 years. It grew out of an organization called Barry Waymiller. It's a manufacturing firm that has 115 companies around the world. And it grew out of this personal aha moment series that the president and CEO, Bob Chapman of Barry Waymiller, had, really to treat people more like family, to treat people like everybody else, removing a lot of the barriers between people, creating better communication between teams. And what happened going through this leadership training at work, they found that people started having more life satisfaction, more job satisfaction, but even more than that, employee divorce rates started going down. And they thought, what, really? You have a 3-day class at work that's changing your life and making you like have a stronger marriage and treat your kids better and you know how to parent them better. And so as they kept getting feedback from people in the 115 companies around the world, they said, wow, we need to give this to people outside of the company. And so they founded in itty bitty little Phillips, Wisconsin, population 1,500, they founded Phillips Listens Incorporated so that the other people who didn't work at Barry Waymiller in Phillips, Wisconsin could take this class too. Well, then other people around the country started saying, I want to take it. I want my wife to take it, or my husband to take it, or my mom, or third grade teacher. Mm-hmm. And so now we operate in 35 different locations around the country. We work in partnerships in education and military and communities and local government. And it has just been a fantastic journey. Over the last 10 years, we've had more than 11,000 people take our 3-day class. And in addition to that, we've got a podcast, we have webinars, and Misty is kind of the leader of our programming in addition to being a DISC trainer. So I'll throw it over to her.
Thank you, Rebecca. My name is Misty Jenks, and I am the Senior Leader of Strategic Engagements for the Chapman Foundation for Caring Communities. I have had the opportunity to facilitate this course now since 2016, and then help lead and support all of the programming that we do in our local regions and across partnerships. So I'm super excited to be here with you today.
So let's start by just explaining what is DISC. Like, what is this thing? Yeah. And why do some people not do it with the D first? Like, I have always had it been called DISC, but then some people call it, like, I don't even know. Starts with a C.
I don't know if I can answer that question because I don't think I've ever actually seen that. All of the assessment that we use is the extended DISC program, and it is an assessment that helps us catalog all of our behavioral tendencies. And what's really interesting about the DISC is you can go on and find like a typical DISC, but it doesn't give you the difference between what we call your natural style, so how you might operate in your home life, versus your perceived need to adjust. So as we walk into certain situations, we know that we might need to adjust some of our behaviors that we're showing to the world. So with the extended DISC format, you're able to see the differences between those two profiles. So it's a quick little assessment. It's only 24 questions that you move through quite quickly, but it's really able to give you some deep results. And even though there's only 4 primary behavioral tendencies, the report that you get, there's actually over 110 million different variations of the individualized report based upon the individual taking that assessment.
I know when I first got my results back, I was like, this is really creepy. It's like they know me. And I answered 24 questions. Like,
a lot of our participants say that, like, ooh, even the bad parts I don't really want to admit I'm seeing here in front of me, or maybe like, I don't even see this about myself. But when you share it with someone that knows you well, they're like, yeah, that's you.
So what is that assessment measuring? Like, what is it telling you about yourself?
So it's telling us about our behavioral tendencies. So how we typically choose to act or respond in different situations. And so there's 4 different primary behavioral tendencies. First, we have our Ds. Our Ds are our drivers. They like to control and direct, and they're very to the point. Next, we have our Is, and those are our influencers. They want to be loved and connected in the social aspect of it, and they're very creative. So it doesn't surprise me if we have a lot of eyes on with us today. The third category is our S's, and our S's are all about steadiness. they seek to serve a higher purpose, and they really focus on people and like that space of harmony, and tend not to change as easily as some of our other behavioral tendencies. And the final category are our C's, and there are conscientious folks. And their focus is really about perfection and doing things well. They really like the details and they like the tasks. So, how are we getting this done? Like I said, heavy detail. They're very good at it.
Now, I know that in my office, we use DISC for a number of things. Like we use DISC when we hire. It doesn't necessarily mean that my developer has to be an SC or a CS, but it sure does help to have that process-driven detail orientation, and then that interpersonal commitment to work on the team, even through the sticky moments. It makes it right. But that doesn't mean that I don't hire someone who has outside of that profile. And another way that we use it is with our clients. Like at one point, we mapped out all of our clients and color coded them by DISC because we were having a really difficult time motivating them through the process of developing their websites and or getting information back from them. And so we had to make our communication back and forth with them a little more adjusted. Like, for example, my D, I would send them an email with one thing in it, and that's it. And I might send them 5 emails that day, but each one of them will have one thing in it. Otherwise, they're never responding to all of them. So that's some examples of how we use it at work. Can you tell us some more stories or examples of how some of your guys' clients and trainees have used it in their lives?
Yes, absolutely. So DISC is all about how much energy it takes, and we have all of these behavioral tendencies inside of us. So it really helps us to understand if I have to operate in this space that isn't my natural style, how much energy am I expending to do that? And that's a huge glimpse for some individuals as they're playing these roles. We're like, I know I'm good at this and I can do it, but I am so tired at the end of the day. Do I want to choose to continue to expend that much energy in this role? So we've seen people make career decisions using this tool. And with these strategies, knowing what they focus on, we can tailor our communication so it just makes our relationships better. We use this at work, but we also have a committed relationship side. So you and your spouse or your partner can get a report that shows how that relationship can work better together.
I know when I first started selling, I knew that as a DI, I had a really difficult time selling to Cs, but my brother is a C. And so I would bring him with me in sales calls, and I'd be like, so you talk to them and you just kick me when you need me to say something, okay? Because I'm just too energetic and too everything for them.
I love what you're talking about there, because typically those styles that are the direct opposite of what we are is where we can find some communication barriers. So our D's and our S's are opposite styles, and our I's and our C's are opposite styles. So we know we need to kind of flex when we're communicating with them and either be more direct, keep it to the bullet points, keep it to just the facts. It makes those communications go much better for us.
And in your marketing too, like as you are formatting a page on a website, that's why, or a brochure, that's why it's so important that you have headings, because your Ds are just going to read the headings and they're just going to read the little snippet underneath the picture that you put in there. And your Cs and your S's will take more time to read through the words that you delivered to them. So in both instances, the way that you format your content can make a big difference in how people actually consume it and if they consume it. Because if you don't have those headings in there broken out, your Ds are just going to look at it and just be like, I'm out, not reading it.
Yes.
And that's a lot of decision makers, like a lot of your business owners are Ds. So
yeah, we have task oriented versus people oriented. So the D's and the I's are the task, like what's in it, what is the high level detail. The S's and the C's are like, how does this affect the people? What are some more of those details? What does it actually mean to me, and how things might change? So looking through those two lenses.
So it even affects internal communication. We're talking about marketing and outward facing, but even communicating with your team, being aware of your team's demographic or the makeup helps shape that message. We were laughing before we started. that I'm high I, and a lot of my team is S and C. And so I have to dial it back a long ways. And I'll send my emails to my leadership team ahead of time, like, please cut and delete, because I know if I send all that I want to write, it's not going to get read. I will sometimes even start out my email with, like, here's the key bullet points of what you need to know. And then for those of you who want all the details, here it is. Like, if you're not a detail person, stop reading now, you're fine. And then otherwise, the people who are going to call me and ask all the questions, here it is below the line. It's all for you.
I love all these formatting tips for people because it really does make a big difference. And even Google rewards you for it at this point. Like, they want your blog post to be formatted with this bulleted list up top that's like a table of contents, basically, for your really long piece. And that's not just for the search engine, it's also for the viewer, So if I don't want to read it all, I can just click and plop down, and that, or if you want to read it all, by all means, read it, like, get into it. So how do you get a disc test? Like, how do you go about getting one of these?
You can find Extended Disc online and choose to pay for a report directly with them. Or we offer disc trainings through our community listens, and we can come in and work with your team. First, do the individual report. What does it mean for you, the individual? And then we also have a disc and team. So it gives a report for your whole team and where everybody falls in those behavioral tendencies, and gives great communication tips for supervisors, managers, leaders on how to best lead their team.
We have, at a few team trainings when we went over disc, made name tags for ourselves in our colors. And we put them on our doors. So that way when you walk in, you're moving into the zone of the person who does not have the same communication style as you do.
Yeah. And how did that change your team interactions, Monica?
It's always for the better when you try to understand where someone else is coming from, really. I don't think that that's ever a negative thing to consider other people. And I think that that's one of the reasons why your guys' mission as an organization is something that is so important, because the better people can communicate with one another, the better their lives are going to be, quite frankly. I mean, how many people have you met in your life that you're like, man, wow, that was the hardest conversation I've ever had. What just happened there? And you're you just can't get through to them like a teenage kid. I know too that the other thing with marketing is using DISC to understand your target audience, right? So in the relationship, the one-on-one relationship, you can use it to define your audience, right? And better communicate with them. And you can do the same thing with your marketing message as well. So that way you make sure that you are communicating in a way that they really understand. And my success story on that is, a long time ago, we used to communicate as May Create as me. So I'm this bubbly, blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of this, it was a yellow brick road of advertising, just And then I thought about it, and I thought, no, the people that make these decisions in the companies, they want a heavy hitter. They want somebody who's kind of snarky and just funny and can punch it out there. And so we changed all the stuff on our website to be much more the way we are in the office, very true to our communication, the way that we are. And people thought it was great. And we were scared at first because we wanted people to love us. But our trade show banner says, if you think your website stinks, so does everyone else.
That's great.
And people stop and they laugh and they're like, I can't believe you just said that. That is so amazing. But it's because they are that is their style. They like that type of thing. So one thing I wanted to understand is, are the results always the same? So you take this assessment, are the results always the same, or are there things that might change your results?
So typically, throughout life, we recommend that you take this at 18 plus. You would fall into a specific behavioral tendency, but understanding that we're blends. So you have all of these styles, like I said before, inside of you, but you get you're this percentage of a D, this percentage of an I. And so you'd have a primary behavioral tendency and a secondary. Typically, you stay in that behavioral tendency, but the percentages could change over time. You have this as you grow older, you mature because of certain experiences in your life. So you kind of like smooth off some of those rough edges we might have had in that behavioral tendency. So those percentages fluctuate. There's one caveat to that. If there is a tremendous life change that happens or event that could affect the outcome of that.
I wonder how motherhood affects that. It seems like
It has to. It has to.
So, those were all my questions, but I feel like you guys have so much more to share. So I guess another question that is really useful is if you're having conversation with one of these styles, are there certain things that you could like pick up on in the way that they talk, like in their cadence or things that they say, maybe that would help you identify another human being so you can better communicate with them?
Yes, absolutely. So the first way is, do they ask people to do things or do they tell? So ask versus tell. Is an easy one to identify right away. Can you go get this for me or go get that for me, please? Type. So our D's and our I's are the individuals that tell, where the S's and the C styles are our ask. So you can also typically see this on how fast does someone speak? Do they have a quick, active pace? There are D's and I's typically, versus our C's and our S's having more slower, moderate pace, calm, cheerful. So you can tell the difference there. Then, after you ask that question and you've been identified into one of those two categories, we have our task oriented behaviors versus our people oriented behaviors. So when they come into a meeting with you, do they stand up, socialize, see who's in the room, or do they sit down and get to business right away and hold the socialization for after? So if you're task oriented, it's a D or a C. People oriented are I's and our S's. So then you can also tailor your message towards the styles based on that. The other piece I would like to add for communication, with communication, the D's always want to know what. What is it about? Give me the bullet points, very top level. The I's are going to ask who's involved, who's coming to the table. Our S's are going to ask when. When is this happening? Knowing about that change because they like harmony, right? And they don't really like a lot of change. So knowing when it's going to happen really helps them. And then our C's ask how. How are we going to do this? They want the plan and the details. So if you can start to identify using the ask versus tell, people versus task, then you can identify what their needs are when you're communicating to them.
And are there things that you can do to adjust your own style sometimes when you're talking to the different types? Because I know that, like, as a what person, when you come to me and you're like, how. So my husband hows me all the time. He's a hower. And I'll be like, no. We're in the wow stage, sir. Like, we need to stay in the wow and stop it with the how because you're like killing my momentum here. You're making me feel sad. Like, you're making me feel out of control. Because I just want to wow. So are there things like if you know that you're a certain way, are there ways that we can adjust and maybe accommodate for the other styles?
Yes. So we call these effective communication strategies or even ineffective strategies. So if we're talking to our Ds, be brief, be direct, and be to the point. Focus on the results. Don't come in rambling, not being clear with what you're actually asking about or processing out loud. Be ready with the fact, with where you want to go. With our I's, they are social. They want that connection. So establish a positive environment, allow for some social time, provide details, but don't dwell on them. So just high level. Don't do all of the talking when you come in to see an I. They want that time to connect and socialize with you. For our S's, you want to clearly define roles and procedures and minimize any perceived risk. Because again, going for that steadiness piece. Don't come in and being aggressive or too pushy. You're going to shut them down right away. And then with our C's, make sure you prepare your case in advance. You have all the details and you have accurate information. Again, focusing on the details, right, and being perfect. things not to do with them. Don't be vague. Don't refuse to explain details or kind of improvise on the spot. They'll see through it right away.
I really, like, for the longest time as a salesperson, I didn't understand that not everybody thought that bonding and rapport was talking about like your dog and your kids and stuff. And like, I think I think I was a salesperson for years before I understood that everyone bonds differently.
And with all of these
Language or something.
with all of the behavioral tendencies, it's not like they don't like it. It's just what comes first. So we'll say people before task or task before people. So knowing where you want to put in that social connected time is key to kind of just put that person at ease that you're communicating with.
My apparently high eye dog just entered my studio and she's like, "You must pay attention to me right now."
She wants the wow moment.
She's licking my hand excessively. I'm like, "Pay attention, Monica." But lick, lick, lick. Yeah, you see it. So if people want to get a hold of you or they want to learn more about doing a training with you, how do they do that?
You can visit our, oh, go ahead, Rebecca. I'll let you speak on that.
Online would be the best way to find us. We're at www.ourcommunitylistens.org. And we will soon, and the next month, be transitioning to chapmancommunities.org. But you can still go to Our Community Listens and it'll be redirected to us. The change to Chapman Foundation for Caring Communities comes after 10 years and over 11,000 lives touched. We're going to be adding Listens will be our core class that we have right now, and then we'll be adding a class on our community serves, our community leads, and defining what that is to be a caring community through our offerings, our menu of offerings.
And two, one of the things that I was like blown away with when I was talking to Kim and learning about your organization is how incredibly like affordable it actually is to do these trainings with you guys, because a lot of places charge a lot of money to do these types of things, and you guys just make it attainable. Like, so it's a great investment in your team, but then it's not going to like set you back months worth of like income to be able to get it done.
We are in it to make a difference, not to make a profit. And so we want people to access us across the world. We have a lot of things that we offer completely free of charge. Our 3-day class, there is a suggested payment for that, but anyone who wants to come and participate, it's really a pay as you can model. So we have the retail value and we're saying, hey, we want you to take it because we're here to make a difference, not a profit. So contribute as you can.
And you guys have been doing some online training, right, recently? So, especially since I understand that you might not be doing in-person training right now. I don't know. So, how do they like sign up for an email list? How do they learn about that opportunity?
Absolutely. They can go to our website, ourcommunitylistens.org/newsletter, and sign up for our newsletter. They'll get once a month all of our offerings. And then there are also ourcommunitylistens.org/events, and that's a list of all of our current events. So right now we're wrapping up an 8-month effective confrontation series, which came back, an alumni survey told us effective confrontation. We want to know how to confront people and still have those powerful relationships and still have deep connection. And so that was one of the first series we offered. Misty's team has a date night series coming up just in time for Valentine's Day and spring fever. We've got a leadership series coming up, and we've got a parenting series in the works. So it's all based on communication, connection, and making the most of those powerful relationships.
I need the parenting series. I have a 10-year-old who's like going on 17, and there's definitely days where I'm like, I don't say anything because I'm really not sure how to respond or how I can respond that's not going to like trigger a whole series of events that I don't want to go through.
Just being able to identify their behavioral tendencies and kind of know where their heads and their hearts are processing. I have 2 sons, an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old. We've had a lot of quality time together in the last 11 months that we didn't anticipate. They're both in college and they were both kind of grooving on their independent life. And then we all got put into the same space. And recently, just maybe a month ago, we moved. And the way they processed it, the way my high D son and the way my high S son processed these things, those were entirely different. And I actually had like a peace treaty convening. I had them all sit down at the dining room table and say, okay, you feel really comfortable giving orders and direction. You're cool with change and you just want to go. And your brother, he really has a hard time with change. So let's dial it back a bit because he just wants peace and he's going to do whatever you ask and say. But inside, he's really in a lot of turmoil over it. So let's find a way we can come together because we all love each other. We all want to work on this. And just speaking that out there and identifying the differences, they're like, whoa, I didn't know he felt that way. And they shifted the way they were treating each other and processing change to be compassionate and empathetic to the other person. So it's great for marketing, it's great for business, and it's great for home.
We do have our parenting roundtables that will be dropping today. The registration links are now live today, but it's all focusing around logic and emotion with your child. So whether it's the teen slamming the door or your toddler throwing a fit on the floor, it helps to understand what's actually happening in their brain and how we can assist them in processing those complicated emotions. Since they're still growing and developing, they don't have that skill set yet. So we have 2 pre-recorded sessions. They're 20 minutes. You get to watch whenever you can, and then come to one of the roundtables, and you'll have a certified facilitator there to help you and coach you through any of the issues that you're currently experiencing, and then just learn from others in the group too. So please sign up for that. That's the one that's dropping the quickest. And then our date night series, you'll see the advertising coming out in February to launch for the month of March.
And our communications leader keeps dropping things in the chat, so follow her. We've got our Facebook page she just posted. She's posting about how you can sign up for those series that Misty's been talking about. So Kim, shout out to you. Thanks for being on top of the messaging while we're talking.
I know. I was like, man, I should really like show these comments over here because, well, they're saying everything that needs to be said, but we've had a lot of great comments here. For example, Christy says that one of her biggest aha moments when she got her disc results was the difference between her perceived need to adjust and her natural style. And that is like a big thing for a lot of people, like you said, because another person said, and they were kind of piggybacking on what you were saying earlier, is they love the energy expenditure component. They talk a lot about that with their Myers-Briggs clients too. And so the tools are so very valuable. And I agree with that because I know that I personally don't like to do things that are just grinding. You know what I mean? I want to do the things that make me excited. And hopefully you can build a team that all complements each other, right?
I think that's the biggest component. How can we just get every one of the styles on our team and let people soar with their strengths and really lean into it, because we can go so much farther together when we're operating in that space and it doesn't seem like work.
Yes. Well, thank you so very much for your time today. I really enjoyed geeking out about DISC with you guys, and it was just wonderful to like have a refresher. I'm totally signing up for the parent roundtable.
Excellent. We'd love to have you. Bring all your friends.
I will tell them about it because I swear the winter, like there's something in the winter, like I do still shove my kids outside, but there's something about it, like even, and Christmas. Wow. Like my girlfriends and I were looking at each other like, do they not know that Santa is supposed to be coming? And they're acting like this. And I'm spending all this money on presents and trying to make this a special time of the year. And they're like, just hating on me. Like, what just happened?
It was a whole year cabin fever. We'll just chalk it to that.
Amen. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And
having us, so fun.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So it's almost time, friends. It's almost time for the Nonprofit Marketing Plan Workshop and Consulting Package Kickoff. Save the date. It starts February 24th and registration opens on February 9th. Now, if right now your marketing is making you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you're not sure what to say and you're confused about what you should be doing or how often you should be doing it, or if you're just like straight up tired of searching Google for answers and trying to do it on your own, then we can transform you through this process to a point where your marketing is less stressful and you're going to know what you're doing each day and week and know that it's enough to connect with your supporters and meet new people to power your mission. You'll be able to delegate your tasks more confidently, and your marketing will be more successful because you'll have a plan that you can actually do that capitalizes on the strengths of your team to connect with your audience. And last but not least, you will have solid reasoning at the end of this workshop and consulting package for your marketing decisions. So you can rule out why you would or wouldn't take all those very well-meaning suggestions or opportunities from board members, volunteers, media sales reps, or even crazy marketers like myself. So if you need more people to know about what you do so you can power your awesome mission, then regardless of your writing, design, or tech skills, less stressful and more successful marketing always starts in the same place, with a plan, and we can make it together. So join me for the Nonprofit Marketing Plan Workshop and Consulting Package. Save the date. The event is February 24th. That's when we're kicking off this awesome process, and you can sign up starting February 13th on maycreate.com. I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Nonprofit Marketing with Purpose. And until next time, you know what to do. Go forth and market with purpose.